Before anything else, drop a like right now and check you're subscribed, because it makes a huge difference in keeping this kind of content coming to you quickly, with depth, and without any waffle. If you really follow Manchester City, you know the behind the scenes often say just as much as what happens on the pitch. So get yourself ready, because what's coming now helps you understand where the club is and what could change in the near future. Manchester City are going through a curious phase. It's not a crisis, not even close. But it's also not that rock-solid, perfectly stable situation that defined some of the last few years. It's a period of quiet tweaks, strategic decisions, and cold assessments about the future of players who've made history. And when that kind of talk starts gaining momentum behind the scenes, it usually means big changes are being weighed up. One name that naturally sits at the center of that conversation is John Stones, not just because of what he represents for the modern city, but because where he is in his career raises questions that are hard to ignore. Over the last few weeks, the noise around the defender's future has grown, and it's not by accident. His contract is moving into its final stretch. The club are watching the market, and the player himself has to think about what comes next. Inside the club, the situation is handled with respect and caution. No one has forgotten what Stones delivered at his peak. In that treble-winning season, he wasn't just another center back. He became the key piece in a tactical revolution. Often stepping into midfield from defense, he helped redefine roles, confused opponents, and gave the side a level of control that very few teams have ever matched. That version of Stones was practically irreplaceable. The issue is that football doesn't freeze in time. After that unbelievable peak, injuries started to bite, not as a one-off, but repeatedly. Short stops became longer absences. Rhythm kept getting broken. And for a club that builds everything around intensity, availability, and continuity, that changes the conversation completely. Pep Guardiola has never dodged this topic. He's always been clear that any decision involving Stones depends, first and foremost, on his physical condition. It's not a technical judgment because nobody argues about his quality. It's a practical one. Can you rely on him across a full season? Can you plan a squad assuming he'll be there for the key moments? Those questions still don't have definitive answers, and that's exactly why the situation has become open. City's recent movement in the market backs up that reading. The arrival of Marc Guéhi doesn't happen by accident. Clubs at this level don't sign players of that profile just to make up the numbers. When a young, ready-made center-back with room to grow comes in, it usually signals medium and long-term planning. It doesn't automatically mean someone leaves the next day, but it does make it clear the club are preparing for different scenarios. For Stones, that creates a quiet dilemma. He's deeply identified with City. He's won everything there is to win. He's built a strong bond with the fans and with the manager. At the same time, he's no longer at the start of his career. At 31, time starts to weigh differently. Contract security, a consistent run of matches, and managing his body become more valuable than they were years ago. That's the context in which his camp have started to move. Not explosively, not with public pressure, but with early conversations. Exploring options isn't betraying the club. It's understanding the market, testing the ground, and knowing what exists if a renewal doesn't happen. And according to what's circulating, Stones himself is open to an experience outside England. That detail matters. For a long time, the idea of leaving the Premier League wouldn't even have crossed his mind. Now it does. And once that door opens, the range of possibilities widens. Italy is widely talked about as a destination. Clubs like Milan and Napoli are seen as competitive environments, but with a different rhythm, less physically intense than English football. Even Inter come up in some conversations, which shows the interest isn't small. Spain also appears on the radar, with Atletico Madrid being mentioned as a club that made initial contact. The fit makes sense. Experience, reading of the game, the ability to play in a high line or a deeper block. And there's also the emotional connection with Vincent Kompany, now at Bayern Munich, who would like someone like Stones to bring leadership and quality to the German defense. Outside the traditional European axis, other options naturally appear. Both the Saudi League and MLS are monitoring the situation. For those markets, the chance to sign a player of this level without paying a transfer fee is extremely attractive. And even within England itself, clubs are paying attention, including Everton, which shows Stone's value remains high despite the physical doubts. Still, nothing is decided. There's a window, small but real, for a different outcome. If Stones can finish the season at a high level, with regularity, without physical setbacks, and if he's decisive in the biggest moments, the tone of the talks can change. A short, well-structured extension isn't impossible. But the overall feel right now points more towards transition than full continuity. From a sporting point of view, that makes sense. City need to move early. Waiting for a problem to explode has never been the club's style. Preparing for life without Stones, even if he stays, is simply rational. For the player, a move abroad could mean a new stimulus, less wear and tear, and a chance to extend his career at a high level. For now, the focus is simple. Keep Stones fit, available, and competitive for the decisive run-in. With major competitions ahead and even a World Cup on the horizon, every decision made now carries extra weight. The future is still open, but the debate has started, and that alone says a lot. And I want to hear from you, City fan. Do you still trust John Stones' physical condition enough to see him as part of Manchester City's future? Drop your opinion, because this is one of those topics that really splits the fan base. Looking at the bigger picture, the potential exit of John Stones almost works as a symbol of a new phase at Manchester City. It's not the end of a cycle through decline, but the start of another through natural evolution. The club stay competitive, stay strong, but begin recalibrating pieces and roles. And that becomes even clearer when you look at what's happening from midfield forwards, especially with Phil Foden. Foden is an interesting case because, for a long time, he was seen as the talent who still needed to properly slot in to a team full of stars. The quality was never in question, but the consistency was. And last season was particularly tough for him. Physical issues, personal matters, and performances below his usual level made plenty of people wonder whether he would really take the leap everyone expected. What's changed now isn't just form, but role. Pep Guardiola decided to adjust something many wouldn't touch. Instead of keeping Foden locked into a more advanced position, usually fighting for space in crowded zones, he started using him deeper, with more pitch to think, pass, and move. It's not a simple positional tweak. It's a shift in responsibility. Playing more like a complete midfielder, Foden has become more involved in build-up, touching the ball more often, and feeling the rhythm of matches differently. The impact was immediate. He started feeling important in every phase of the game, not only when the attack clicked. And when a player with his talent feels plugged into the constant flow of a match, confidence grows quickly. City now have an extremely competitive attack. Erling Haaland remains the central reference. Doku brings explosion out wide. Marmoush, Bob, and Savinho offer variety, mobility, and intensity. The January arrival of Antoine Semenyo only increased that level of competition, and the impact was instant. In just a few matches, he's already shown presence, decisiveness, and a quick adaptation to the system. In that context, insisting on Foden exclusively higher up could actually limit the team. By dropping him a few yards, Pep didn't lose creativity up front and gained more control in midfield. The numbers help explain it. Even in a different role, Foden has already contributed directly to goals in a way that makes his season look solid. And that's without counting what doesn't show up in stats. Linking the lines, the pass that breaks pressure, the judgment to speed the game up or slow it down. Foden himself has made it clear he feels better like this. Mentally lighter, more confident, happier on the pitch. After a difficult stretch, he managed to clear his head and enjoy football again. That matters because it shows maturity. He understands careers aren't straight lines, and adapting is part of growth. There's also a quiet leadership element in all of this. When matches get stuck, when opponents shut spaces down, the team start looking for Foden. The ball runs through him more often. That doesn't happen by chance. It's a clear sign of internal trust, and he doesn't even feel he's at his peak yet, which is frightening in the best way. because what he's already shown suggests there's still more to come. This Foden revival also helps explain what City are targeting for the future. Intelligent, adaptable players who are comfortable in more than one role. And that leads directly into the third part of this puzzle, Vitor Rice. The young Brazilian's path is a clear example of planning. The loan to Girona was never a distancing move. It was acceleration. City picked a specific environment, a club that works with similar concepts, so he could get minutes, build confidence, and develop tactical understanding. All of that away from the immediate pressure of the Etihad, but under constant observation. Inside the club, he's viewed as a major project, not a generic prospect, but someone who can genuinely be part of the first team squad in the near future. The fee reflects that. Spending close to $30 million on such a young defender isn't something you do without conviction, especially while turning down interest from major European clubs along the way. What stands out most with Vitor Rice is his profile. He isn't just a physically imposing center back. He understands the game. He can build from the back, positions himself well, and most importantly, he's willing to learn. That last part is essential if you want to survive at Pep Guardiola's City. Nobody is fixed. Everyone has to understand more than one role. The player has said as much in interviews. He knows the manager likes defenders who can operate wide, inside, and step into midfield. And instead of seeing that as a problem, he sees it as an opportunity. That mindset makes all the difference. Some freeze under the demands. Others grow. Everything suggests he's in the second group. His development at Girona has been steady. Regular minutes, natural mistakes from someone still learning, but also clear progress match by match. More confidence on the ball, better timing under pressure, more calm in difficult moments. Exactly the kind of maturation City want to see before bringing someone back into the main squad. When you put all of this together, the picture starts to make sense. City are preparing for a younger defense, more versatile, and more aligned with the current model. The arrival of Marc Guehi, the planned pathway for youngsters like Max Alain, and the potential future integration of Vitor Rice all point in that direction. It's not a brutal break, but a carefully managed transition. In that context, John Stones' situation gains even more clarity. It's not that he stopped being important, it's that the club need to be ready to move on if necessary. And at the same time, space is created for new names to take on responsibility gradually, without shock, without rushing. Manchester City, once again, show they think a few steps ahead. While plenty of people only look at the next match, the club look at the next seasons. They adjust roles, develop talent, and make hard decisions at the right time. That's how you stay at the top for so long. If you enjoyed this content, leave a like right now and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any important updates about Manchester City. It helps massively for the channel to keep bringing you complete, direct analysis that's properly connected to what really matters for City supporters.